Hey guys, it's Alexandra from EyeLoveKnots.com and YarnCraftsandCoffee.com. Today I'm going to show you how you can crochet a flower scrubby in any combination of cotton yarn and scrubby yarn. I have a lot of different examples here. The scrubby yarn that I'm using is Lion Brand Stitch, Soak, and Scrub, a 100% nylon, and it is a worsted weight number 4. It looks like a chain with a bunch of loops that are connected together. The yarn itself feels like a loofah. It is very stretchy and it is hard to see your stitches. It is. So what I did is I combined scrubby yarn with one strand of a cotton yarn in the same exact color, and then I crocheted with them held together. This one that's right here, I did that for the center as well as the petals. And I think this is probably my favorite version of it. This is the easiest one to see your stitches with. The one over here to the right is made up completely of scrubby yarn, and it was the hardest to work with. As you can see, the stitches are really fuzzy, they're undefined. Working with Scrubby by itself, I kind of had to guess where the stitches were going to be. It also produces a more dainty scrubby. It still feels wonderful, but I really like it a bit more combined with the cotton yarn. The one down here at the bottom is what you're most familiar with. I've used this in a couple different tutorials, and this one is made with 100% worsted weight cotton. I used the same yellow and blue for all these yellow and blue samples. I wanted to keep it consistent throughout. So we have WeCrochet Dishie in Bumblebee and Azure, and the scrubby colors are Turquoise and Cyber Yellow. I'll pop all the names to these colors and the yarns that I use down in the description box below. But as you can see here, the one at the bottom center, that one is all cotton. The one next to it on the left is going to be cotton and scrubby held together for the center and the petals. The one above that is cotton for the center, scrubby for the petals. To the right is all scrubby yarn. And then the top right is going to be scrubby and cotton held together for the center, and then cotton for the outside. And I think this is my second favorite. You can use any combination that you like. I'm going to show you how to do the full flower using the flower that's on the bottom left with cotton and scrubby held together for the entire thing. After we've made this one, then I will show how to do the different versions here and my tips for working with the scrubby yarn. We're going to finish it up by weaving in our ends, and I'm going to show you a couple ends from each version. If you'd like to jump ahead in the video at all, you can use the timestamp found in the description box below. Click on the timestamp for the section you want to jump to, and it will pop you forward in the video. You can also use it to pop backwards if you need to reference the pattern for the flower. I am using a 100% worsted weight cotton to go with my worsted weight scrubby yarn and an H8 5mm crochet hook. You can use a sport weight yarn instead if you'd like to pair that with the scrubby. You can go up a crochet hook size if you want to do that. The two strands together is definitely a little bit thicker, so a 5.5 or a 6mm crochet hook would be a little bit more comfortable. If you're going to use these in the shower, for cleaning your face, for washing dishes, you can experiment with other fibers. I do lean a little bit heavier on the cotton, but you could use a bamboo or a linen or even a hemp. If you want to use these decoratively, you can experiment with eyelash yarn instead of scrubby. You can change out the cotton for an acrylic or wool. A lot of fun options out there. You can view the written pattern for this on my EyeLoveKnots blog. Blog subscribers do get access to the free file library where they can download the free PDF. All you have to do is join my newsletter to get access to that. I'll pop the link for it down in the description box below. One thing I will say before we get started, if you are new to crocheting or if you are new to working with yarns that are harder to see your stitches. You may want to work up the flower pattern using a yarn that you can see all your stitches really well. It can be stash yarn. It doesn't take very much yarn, just about 12 yards to make a flower. But you may want to practice the stitch pattern first so that when you get in with the Scrubby, if you're going to do the Scrubby just by itself, you are a little bit more confident in where the stitches are going to go because you're familiar with the stitch pattern. If you hold the Scrubby together with a cotton, you're not going to have any problems seeing where your stitches go. So I would recommend either doing it without the Scrubby yarn first or holding it together with another yarn. Completely up to you. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so rather than fight with the center, trying to get the center pull out because I'm not even sure where to begin, I'm just going to slide off the sleeve and start with the outside strand. I don't normally work from this side, but it just might be easier to do that. You know, I say that, and then look at this mess, and I still have 2 strands here, and I haven't gotten to the end of either one of them. This just keeps pulling tighter, and this just keeps unraveling. So, oh, there we go. There's the end from the center pull. I thought it would be more difficult going into the center of it. I guess it's really not that much more difficult. Alright, so this is what the Scrubby yarn looks like. It's a nylon chain, sort of like a tube. I'm going to hold this together with the strand of cotton yarn so that I can crochet with both at the same time. So I'm gonna pull a strand here over my fingers. This part I'll weave in, so I want to make sure I leave enough that I can weave in. We're going to make a slip knot. I'm wrapping it around my index finger 2 times, holding the tension with my thumb and my middle finger. And then I'm going to pull the loop on the left up over the other one but not off my finger. Pull the one on the left now up over the other one and off my finger. Grab my crochet hook, insert it into the loop on my finger, and then pull it off. I'll grab the working yarn in my right hand, short tail end in my left. I'm going to pull that so this knot will go to normal tension. Now as I work, I'm just going to work with both strands held together with the same tension as if they were one strand. I'm going to start with a chain 5. To chain, we yarn over and pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Each time we do that, we get one of these V shapes here, and we use that to count our chains. 1, 2, 3 chains so far. We don't count the loop on our hook. I'm going to work 2 more so that I can have 5. Now I'm going to slip stitch join to form a ring. I'm going to go down to that first chain, insert my hook into the center, yarn over and pull through the loop on my hook. Then I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm ready to begin the first round, and I have this ring in the center that I'm going to be working my stitches into. I'm going to start by working 12 half double crochets in that center ring. I'm going to hold the tail ends to the back of my chains as I work so that I can crochet over them. To half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center ring, and when you do that, you're going to have the chains on top of your hook, and then again holding the tail ends to the back so you have those over your hook as well. Yarn over and pull through. There are 3 loops on your hook. It's a little bit hard to see because there's a lot going on. But 1, 2, 3 strands of that cotton yarn are really easy to see, and then you know that you have the other loops from the Scrubby yarn on there as well. Yarn over and pull all the way through. And with your hook here, try to center it up as best as you can and pull directly through, not turning to either side. That way it doesn't get caught on any of the strands. Yarn over, insert your hook into the center ring, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops right down the center. Yarn over, insert your hook into the center ring. You have the chains on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And as I'm working, I'm keeping a looser tension here. I'm making sure I'm not holding too tight on the strand that I'm pulling from. And then my actual piece right here, I'm holding loosely as well. Because this scrubby yarn needs a lot of give, so you don't want to pull too much. Otherwise, the scrubby is going to curl up. So you want to try to hold it with a looser tension so that it just glides along your fingers here, so it's a little bit looser. And then here I kind of pull up on my loops a little bit so they're a little bit looser, and then I complete my stitch. And I'm keeping everything as loose as possible from the loop here on my hook to the strand that I'm holding for tension. Again here, making sure my loops are pretty loose. Still keeping tension, but a little bit looser. So each time you do that, you're going to get one of these V shapes at the top, and that's how you're going to count your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half double crochets so far. I'm going to keep working until I have 12 complete. As you work, you may come to a spot where it looks like you're about to run out of room. Hold onto the fabric here in between your fingers on your left hand. Grab the stitches here with your right and just pull them down along the chain. They'll just slide right on down, making some more space for you. There, I've reached the end of my round with 12 half double crochets. I'm going to slip stitch join to the first half double crochet of the round. If you're not sure which one the first one is, you can use the V shapes here along the top to count backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Then insert your hook here underneath both loops of that stitch. And it may be a little bit hard here because you're pushing through the middle, so try not to snag the nylon. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and through the loop that's on your hook. That slip stitch completes round 1. Now, as you can see, mine is laying pretty flat. If yours is cupping a lot, meaning it's curling and taking on a bowl shape, you can either try reworking it with a looser tension or go up a hook size. We're going to come back to this ring here in the center, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with round 2. I'm going to start with a chain 1, and I'm going to increase in this round, which means I'm going to work multiple stitches into each stitch, and for this round we're going to end up doubling our stitch count. So we're going to go from 12 to 24. I like to split my beginning increase a little bit to help keep my seam straight, and even though we're just working 2 rounds, I still prefer working this way. If you prefer working a different way, you can do that, but I'm going to show you my favorite way when I work in the round. I'm going to start with a half double crochet into this very first stitch here that my chain 1 is coming out of. Now I'm going to start working 2 stitches into each stitch all the way around. Starting with this next stitch, I'm going to work 1 half double crochet as normal. Then I'll yarn over and insert my hook back into the same exact stitch, and that will be the second half double crochet. And that's it. Work 1 stitch as normal. Then yarn over and insert your hook back into the same exact stitch and complete your half double crochet. And there you have 2 half double crochets into 1 stitch. Go ahead and keep working all the way around until you reach the end over here. You're going to have 23 half double crochets complete, and then I'll be back with you so we can finish up the first set of increases there and join around. There, I've finished the last set of increases. I have 23 stitches. Now I'm going to go ahead and work the last stitch here, yarn over, insert into the very next stitch that you see there. That's going to be the same stitch as the beginning chain. This stitch is just going to come out to the right side of the beginning chain, whereas the first stitch came out to the left. And then I'm going to slip stitch join to the very first stitch of the round. And now round 2 is complete. I'm going to pull up a loop here so I don't lose this. We're going to hold the fabric here. On the back side I have my middle finger and ring finger on either side of the beginning tail here. I'm going to hold on to the front as well, and I'm going to pull on this strand and it will close this ring up here. It's a little bit tougher to pull close when you have the scrub yarn here, but I've gotten pretty close. And then when I weave in the end, I will completely close that up. But now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the petals. And I'm going to continue working in scrubby yarn, so I'm going to grab another strand of scrubby and another strand of cotton so that I can continue to hold them together as I move into the petals. So I'll bring this back down to normal tension first and then set this aside. I have another scrubby yarn here. This one was really easy to get this time, got lucky. I'm going to bring them even here at the bottom. I'm going to come up a little bit, form a loop, leaving a tail end long enough that I can comfortably weave in. Then I'll place this loop right onto my crochet hook. And I'm going to pull that through the loop that's on my hook. Then I'm going to grab the tail end from my original color and I'm going to pull on it so this loop will disappear. This is my favorite way for the most seamless color change here. Drop my tail ends, pick up my new color. Sometimes this loop gets twisted, so I'll pull this out and reposition. Then give the working yarn a tug, so this will go to normal tension. Chain 1. Sometimes the yellow strand might pop back up. You can go to the back of the work, grab the strand, and just hold onto the fabric and give it a tug, and it will disappear again. And that is because it's not secured in place yet. You'll do that when you weave in your ends. I'm going to go ahead and start here with a single crochet into the very first stitch. So insert my hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through. Got a little caught in the scrubby underneath, so just be careful and patient. We have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Now we're going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to work 3 double crochets, yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now we're going to chain 2. And then we'll work 3 more double crochets back into that same exact stitch. Try to keep the same loose tension on your strand here in your left hand as well as the loops here that are on your hook. And there's our first petal complete. Now we'll just repeat that 5 more times. We're going to skip the next stitch. Into the next stitch we're going to single crochet, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops, then skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch 3 double crochets, then chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets back into that same exact stitch. And there's petal number 2. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Skip the next stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the next stitch. You're going to continue working all the way around. Once you get to the end over here, you're going to finish with your 6th petal, and then we'll join together. There's the very last petal. I have 6 petals now. I'm going to go ahead and skip the next stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch join to that first single crochet, insert underneath both loops of the stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch and through the loop that's on my hook. Now I can go ahead and fasten off the color from my petals. And then I'll go ahead and fasten off the yellow as well. And I'm going to come to this last loop here, pull up on it to break it. I like to bring it to the wrong side, so I'm going to come into the same stitch I just joined to from the back to the front, yarn over with those tail ends, and then pull them to the back. And now everything's on the back side, so I can go ahead and grab my tapestry needle and weave in my ends. For my second version, I have here where I did the same cotton yarn with the scrubby yarn for the center of the flower. Now I'm getting ready to add my new color, so I've slip stitched here the round. Let me set this down. This time I'm just going to do the petals in the cotton yarn, and I'm just going to do 1 strand only. If you wanted to do 2, you could, but you probably would want to go up a crochet hook. It'll be more bulky than the center was. I'm going to go towards the end, make a loop, leaving a tail end long enough I can comfortably weave in, put that loop on my hook, pull it through, go to the original strand, pull it down, the loop disappears, drop my tail end, give this strand here a tug, so this loop will go to normal tension, and then chain 1. And that yellow's popping up, so I'll just go to the back, pull it down, and now I'm ready to go. Same process as before, I'm just doing 1 strand here for the petal. So single crochet into that very first stitch, skip the next stitch, 3 double crochets into the next stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same stitch, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. And we continue with that same process, same repeat all the way around The important thing here when you're working with just the one strand now onto the center that has the two strands is going to be the tension. So you can keep a more normal tension on the hand that keeps the tension for you, but still try to keep the looser tension on the loops that are on your hook, kind of pull up so that they're a little bit taller. That way they don't get to be too tight and then this round starts to take on a bowl shape because the stitches are pulled tighter. Because the center is going to be a little bit bulkier, we want to make sure that we match that tension up here so that everything lays nice and flat. Now that petal's complete, I'll slip stitch join to the first single crochet and I'm ready to fasten off. Bring this one to the back, pull up on the loop to break it, insert into that same stitch I slip stitch from the back to the front, yarn over with the tail end and pull it through. Then I can weave in my ends. When you're working with just the scrubby yarn itself, it's going to seem like it's impossible to see your stitches. And it almost will be. So when you're working with just the scrubby yarn, make sure to keep that looser tension on your loops so that the stitches are a little bit taller, so they're a little bit easier to see, a little bit easier to work into. And honestly, trust your gut. You kind of know where your stitches are. They're going to have that loopy V shape at the top, even though it's hard to see. You can kind of guess where that stitch would be on top of that post, and just with patience work through your stitches. If you find it too difficult, one thing you can do is go up hook sizes. You can continue to go up hook sizes until you think that it produces a fabric that you like and the stitches are a little bit easier to see. Or like my other examples, you can hold a strand of cotton yarn together with it, or a linen or bamboo, whatever you want to use to make your kitchen scrubby, and it will be so much easier to see your stitches. You may also want to make one in another yarn as your first go round, just so that you can get the lay of the pattern down, and then once you feel comfortable with that, then try it with the scrubby yarn. That way you're not trying to do both at the same time. It might be good practice. But I've completed round 2 here of the center of my petal. I'm going to set this down for a moment. I am going to go back to the teal color. Same process, form a loop here near the end, and I'm leaving a longer than usual tail because I think I may need to weave it in a little bit more, I'm not sure. Put that on my hook here, pull it through the loop on my hook, pull down the original color, loop will disappear, super fast and easy in the nylon. Pull down this loop to normal tension. And then I'll start with a chain 1 and I'm going to single crochet right underneath me. Give that blue strand a tug here, and then I'm going to skip the next stitch and work my petal in the next stitch. And I can see here where the posts are, so I can sort of guess where the stitches are above it. I can also see a little loopy shape here. I'm sitting with a light above me, which makes a world of a difference. Holding it like this, I can also see the holes where my V-shapes are sitting on top. I can see the holes here where I need to insert my hook. So a light may be a good thing to have. Mine is a ring light, so it is above me. I'm also going to try to work patiently so I don't hook any other piece by mistake and pull it out. I want to do the same practice too, where when I insert my hook and then when I go to pull it through, I want this to be as in the middle as possible so that it's not to the left or to the right, so there's no chance of the mouth accidentally hooking the scrubby yarn since it's made up of all those little chains. But just work patiently as you pull through. If you start to feel resistance, pull your hook back out because you may have gotten some of the scrubby yarn on your hook. Skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. I think you can sort of see the holes that I'm talking about. You can clearly see the hole right there. You can see the hole right here, and you can see the next one as well. So that's where you're going to insert your hook, picking up both loops of the V shape on top of your hook. So skip the next stitch. In the next stitch, I'm going to single crochet. You can also pull your stitches apart if you need to try to see a little bit better. Alright, and then I'm just going to continue in the same exact pattern all the way around until I get to the end, and I have my 6th petal done, and then I will slip stitch join. Now I'm going to slip stitch join to the first single crochet over there. And now the round is complete. I'll grab my scissors, fasten off here, fasten off the yellow, now I'm going to come to this last loop here. I'm going to pull up on it to break it. I like to bring it to the back, so I'll insert from the back to the front into the stitch I just slip stitched to. Yarn over with that tail end and pull it to the back. Now all the ends are on the back. I can grab my tapestry needle and weave them in. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch my round here. Set this down, grab the turquoise scrubby yarn, go towards the end, make a loop, leaving a tail end long enough I can comfortably weave in. And I've left a slightly longer tail than I normally would because I think I may end up doing an extra pass when I weave in my ends. Not sure, just in case. I'll put that loop on my hook, pull it through the loop that's on there, go to the original color, pull it down so that loop will disappear, drop the tail ends, tug on the strand from the working yarn so this knot will go to normal tension. After I fix it, sometimes it gets twisted in there, and then I'll chain one. I'll go back to that original strand, tug it down again, and now I'm ready to get started. So I will single crochet here into this very first stitch, grab that scrubby yarn and tighten it down so this looks a little less messy. And then I'll just continue in pattern here, working my petal. Three double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the same stitch. And as I work, I'm following all the same concepts as before, making sure when I pull through, I make it as even and flat as possible so it doesn't catch on anything. And then also pulling up my stitches so that they're a little bit taller so everything will lay a little bit nicer. The nice thing about working with the scrubby yarn into the cotton is that the stitches are so easy to see, and it's such a smooth process working through that cotton fabric, and I don't have to worry about my hook getting caught as much either. And now I'm just going to go ahead and continue working all the way around in pattern. Once I finish the last petal, then I'll go ahead and slip stitch join. There's the last petal. Skip that last stitch and slip stitch join to the very first single crochet. And there it is. Now I'll fasten off. I'm going to try to leave a longer tail here too, just in case I need it. Then I'll come to this last stitch, pull up on this loop so that it will break. Insert into that same stitch I joined from the back to the front. Yarn over with the tail end and then pull it to the back. And now all the tail ends are on the back and I can weave them in. I'm going to start with the center, and I'm going to go ahead and put both of these into my tapestry needle at the same time. I'm not going to go ahead and trim these even though they look longer because the Scrubby is stretchy, so I may have either stretched it or I can pull it back. I'm going to go ahead and just put them even on the ends with each other and then put that into my needle. And I'm just squishing them in between my fingers here to flatten them out to come through my needle. You can see that there's slack in there with my cotton yarn. I'm going to pull that out so that it's nice and even. I want it without stretching to be as even as possible. You can also weave these in separately if you're having trouble with it, but I just don't want to overstretch the chain. I want it to go nice and smooth and even when I'm weaving it in. I'm going to do a circular motion clockwise here until I'm back to the beginning, and then I'll push through a couple more stitches for my first pass. I'm going to do it in small sections. I'm going to use my jewelry pliers to help me with weaving because it's way too tough for my fingers. I've already tried a couple without my pliers. I want the eye of the needle facing up so I can see directly down. That's going to pull through the smoothest, push it up, and then with the flat side of my jewelry pliers, I'm going to grab onto my needle. I'm holding on to the fabric in between my fingers, and I'm going to gently wiggle and tug and pull it through. Once it's through, I'll grab it with my fingers and pull the rest of the way. Worked my next section. I have the eye of the needle facing up, push it through, hold on to the fabric in between my fingers. Flat side of my jewelry pliers, use that to grab hold of the needle, wiggle and tug and pull. Now if it gets stuck and you pull it too hard, it will break the eye of the needle. So just be careful as you're pulling through. And here you can see that my Scrubby yarn is left, same as the other pass, so I'm just coming up to the Scrubby tail end and I'm pulling on it. That's because the Scrubby yarn just stretches a lot. So even though it looks even, it's stretching while it's being woven in because it's so tight in there. This puts me back to the beginning. I'm going to push through several more stitches, and that will be my last pass. Give it a nice tug so it completely closes up the hole, and then I'm going to rotate it. I always do 3 passes. If you feel comfortable after 2, you can fasten off. If you feel like you need to work another one, you can go ahead and do that too. Whatever you need to do to feel comfortable with your end. Inserting into a nearby stitch here. Just running vertically under several stitches, back in the same direction I just came. Turn it into a nearby stitch, back through several of the same stitches I just finished. Hold on to it, give it a nice tug, flattening it out with my fingers to make sure it's laying flat so it's not all bunched up, and then I can go ahead and fasten off those tails. When I do the second one from the center of my petals, I'm going to weave them in vertically up and down here, 3 passes. I'm going to go ahead and do the blues on the top. So I've made them even here at the end, flattening them in between my fingers. And then I'll feed it through the eye of my needle. One of my yarns has split here, so as I pulled, it bunched up my cotton. Usually that only happens if I miss one of them in the eye, but they're all in the eye of the needle. Interesting. So just making them even without overstretching. I'm going to take the one on the top, which is sort of leaning to the right, and I'm going to go ahead and feed it into that petal to the right. The one on the bottom sort of already leaning to the left, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up and then into that petal on the left side. I'm going to bring it into this nearby stitch here. Then I'm going to bring it up again into the stitch that's just to the left. I don't want to bring it down here because it will pass through this little space that's unworked. So I'm going to wrap it around these stitches here. And now I can go into that nearby stitch here, which is going to be at the base of that petal, and I can hide it in the bulkiness there. And when I come out, I'm going to break this last stitch in half. Instead of picking up the whole entire stitch on my needle, I'm going to just insert the needle into the center of that stitch. It's going to help to capture my yarn a little bit better. And you saw how this scrunched up? I just want to come back here and manipulate my fabric so that it lays nicely and flat and it's not bunched up. Then I can continue with my second pass. Inserting into a nearby stitch here. And going back in the same direction, and I'm breaking my stitch in half when I exit. I normally break it in half when I enter as well, but with the Scrubby yarn, I just want to make sure I'm not catching anything, so it's easier to do it when I exit. Manipulate the fabric if you need to. Rotate it. Right now, my Scrubby yarn's really tight and my cotton is loose, so I'm just going to pull on the cotton to make it even. Insert into a nearby stitch and run it underneath several of the same stitches. Pull on the Scrubby because it was sticking out. Manipulate the fabric if I need to, and I can fasten off. For this one, I have the same space here that's left unworked, so I don't want to just pull it over because it will be visible from the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it upward into the back of the stitch above it, and then into the stitch to the left. Let me rotate this so I can see a little bit better. I'm going to bring it down from the right to the left through the stitch that's next to it. Now I've wrapped that tail around those stitches. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, working into the bulkiness of this petal. And surprisingly, it's a little bit easy to work just pulling with my fingers. I already weaved in a couple of these, and it was so incredibly tough on my fingers that I stopped because I had forgotten my jewelry pliers. But it's not so bad on my fingers for this one. The center ring, definitely. That would be tough on the fingers because those stitches are so tight in there. Alright, 3 passes, I'm happy with that. As I said, I'll go ahead and do this one vertically. That one's going to be pretty much the same exact way. We're just going vertically here. This one is the all scrubby, working the center tail end into my needle. Clockwise around the center, working in small sections here. This one is easy to pull through. Be careful though, because the yarn is very stretchy. So once you get it pulled through, it kind of just keeps stretching the chainette structure here of the scrubby yarn. And I'm pushing a little bit past where I started. So pulling that through the center, once I get to the end, if I keep pulling, it's just going to stretch out the strand here. So I'm going to hold on to the center, come to where it's coming out of these stitches, and just tug from there. Because what it's doing is it's misshaping the chain structure of this tail end from the scrubby yarn from where I overstretched it. So come to the source down here at the bottom and pull from there. I'm going to work back in the same direction. Again, I always do 3 passes. And I hold on to the fabric in between my fingers. It helps prevent bunching. It also helps prevent anything from getting caught. I'll do one of the blues, the one that's coming out on the top. That one leans to the right, the bottom one leans to the left, so that's how I weave them in. And then I'm going to bring it down from left to right here so I can weave it around those stitches. That way it's not visible through the space if I pull it right through. Even though with the scrubby yarn it sort of hides it a little bit better. And this one is not as tight in here, so it's not stretching the thread like it was in the center. And it's very easy to pull through with my fingers. If you feel like it's too slippery and it's not secured, you can go ahead and work an extra pass, but 3 passes I'm feeling pretty good. I'll weave in the other two just as I explained before. This one is the one that has the cotton center and then the Scrubby yarn petals. I'm going to do the center one here. This one is nice and easy on your fingers. I am working with Dishie, which is a easier yarn that I found to pull my needle through. If you're working with a tough yarn like Lily Sugar and Cream, you may want to use the jewelry pliers here to help your fingers. Let's do the other yellow one here from the center of my flower. Working with the cotton is where I'm going to go ahead and split the stitch that I enter and exit into. So I'm going to go into a nearby stitch here, and instead of picking up the whole stitch on my needle, I'm going to insert it into the center to break it in half. And then I'm just running vertically there underneath several stitches, breaking that last stitch in half when I exit as well. Make sure to manipulate the fabric, it does bunch up more. Rotate it, break this stitch in half when I enter, vertically up through several of the same stitches, breaking that last one in half when I exit. And again, this is just to help capture my yarn a little bit better. I'll weave in the two blues at the top as I previously showed. And then this is the one that is the cotton scrubby in the center, cotton for the petals. I'm going to do the center the same way as I did the first one. I'm going to show you one of the blues. I'll show you the one that's on the bottom, which is on the left. And the one on the top I'll weave into the right. I'm going to bring my needle up through the back of that stitch I can see right above me. Then I'm going to bring it down through the back of the stitch I can see to the left of that. Again, I'm just wrapping it around the stitches that are already there, so I'm not pulling it right through the center where the stitches are unworked. Then I'm going to come up the stitch that's next to it. And now when I go to the left, I'll be in the bulkiness of the petal. Break this last stitch in half when I exit. And I'm breaking now when I enter and when I exit. And I'll do the other ends as I previously described. Guys, thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please drop me a comment below and let me know what combination of yarns you're going to be using for your scrubbies. Will you use them as kitchen or bath scrubbies, or will you use them to embellish another project? I would love to know. If you did enjoy this video, it would help me out a ton if you smashed that like button to let YouTube know that you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel while you're there. If you'd like to download the free PDF for crochet patterns, you can join my newsletter where you'll get the password to access the free file library on my website. You'll find the link down below in the description box. I'll catch you guys next time.